within a room I can do. Brighter day for me and you. The best part of waking up is in your cup.
Yes, the interview. The interview, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most beautiful things at times that can happen between two people without getting physically intimate, if you will. Given the fact that you have someone who is trying to get to know you, mind, body, and soul, in some ways, right? And you have that's the interviewer. Then you have the person who's being interviewed, who basically has to decide, or has to look deep within themselves on what they want to divulge, what they're comfortable with divulging, and what the repercussions will be coming out of it. There's a lot that goes into an interview. One of the main things in an interview that should be established off bat is trust, right? You have essentially, as someone being interviewed, you're putting yourself in the hands of the interviewer, that they're going to take care of you, that they're not going to manipulate you, they're not going to misconstrue anything you say. It's a rough type of situation, if you think about it, but it can be one of the most beautiful things that can generally happen, if you will, and it can turn into one of the ugliest, as well as bring out, the worst in people or the best in people, given their situation. We're about to find out a little bit about that right now. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the newsroom and welcome to the Galtopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. This is the Snort Report. I was going to say pseudo Snort Report, but this is the Snort Report. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, how you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing well. This isn't the Snort Report in the way that we would have, a Snort Brunel video and we'd have a bunch of laughs and everything like that. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, sadly is going to be pressed off a little bit longer because I have all these other prior obligations that I've owed to you, and it's time for me to start paying my debts. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be here with, this will actually be a two-parter. The interview that I kind of spoke about is brought to us by a JakeJames Lugo. Am I saying that right? Yeah, JakeJames Lugo, or JJL, I'll call him that. First interview, I should say, is DSP streaming during a lockdown. Definitive Discussions, that's the name of his podcast series, or his interview series, if you will. This is from April 30th of 2020. The second video that you guys will get later on is also by JJL, XL Mode episode 36, DSP, on, let's see, reputation and YouTuber interaction. That should be good, maybe. We'll see. In any case, apparently DSP had felt the need, or felt compelled, if you will, to go ahead and put his trust and faith in the hands of this individual here, JJL. Now, I don't know exactly what JJL's history is. He could be a former fan. He could be someone who was inspired by Phil. He could be just someone looking to be an opportunist on a situation. Who could say? Either which way, Phil trusted him enough to do so. Now, interestingly enough, Phil and this individual, JJL, have a history that goes back about 4 years. It could go back further than that, but at least 4 years. Let's see here. What was discovered? Someone ended up hitting me up with the link to Street Fighter V Breakdown featuring Darksydephil, a definitive discussion. This is from, or that interview, I should say. is from, let's see, March 11th of 2016. So Phil has some history with this person, i.e., that means Phil, at least in some way, shape, or form, trusts him, even though Phil doesn't trust anybody, and he's at least willing to give this individual the time of day. Now, the reason why this interview, or the next two, this video and then the video that'll follow it, even comes about is because someone that I trust and someone who has always been upfront with me, thought it would be an interesting video to go over, and that's why we're doing it. So big ups to the outsider. Big ups. So that's what the situation is. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to expect out of any of this because I didn't actually watch it. The reason why I didn't do that is because, well, I figured it'd be best to do it this way. To be honest, I don't like being prefaced on everything, despite popular belief. In any case, as I said, I have a bunch of stuff that I need to go over and go through. So, would you guys like a rundown? Just a little bit of what some of this stuff is? Let's see. So there are the 2 interviews by JakeJames Lugo. Then there might be that Street Fighter V breakdown. We'll see. I'm kind of anxious to hear about that, because I already did a video on the second channel going over Phil and his how disgruntled he was about Street Fighter V. So that might be interesting. I mean, then again, just for any of you guys who don't know, Phil thought that Street Fighter V was going to be the second coming of Super Turbo. Womp womp. Anyway, what else do we have on the chopping block after that? We have Exposed Episode 11, Review Tech USA. This is when he was interviewing Wings of Redemption. That is on the list. I also have the full Ralph Retort versus Monday Matt complete animated show by Suit Yourself. I promised that one. That's on the list. Let's see here. DSP's interview with the Quartering. That's on the list. I have to redo, I should say, the 341 bankruptcy hearing and meeting. I have that on the list. Let's see. Spoonie 1 should actually be up here. Have to go through and find some of those. That's why that's missing. Okay, so that just give you guys a taste of what's coming up next, and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, as you guys know, the quarterly meeting will come up for the year as well. I'll be taking a bit of a hiatus, come back, hit the second channel, then we hit some holiday stuff, and then before you guys know it, it'll be 2021. Imagine that. Any case, let's not worry about what is to come. Let's talk about what we have in front of us now. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys all know what this situation is and how it goes, so let's go ahead and get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Snort Report, and this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking, unreliable coverage that you can't count on. A GTG network and production. You guys all know the slogan, I don't smell no bacon cooking, but we're about to go ahead and get on that right now with JJL and DSP. And it's time, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to watch me work.
Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is JakeJames Lugo. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a brand new episode of a definitive discussion where I bring on phenomenal individuals.
Like I said, his intro's a little louder than one would expect. But in any case, it is what it is. So give me just a second. All right, I gotta hit you guys with this again, and it's only gonna be brief. All right, cool. We're in the building. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. Let's see, with JakeJames Lugo. Let's see, DSP on streaming during the lockdown. Definitive discussion. This is from April 30th of 2020, our current year of gout. Here we go.
from all corners of the internet, YouTube, and the gaming industry, and a whole bunch of different places. And we have deep dives into different various conversations and stuff that you guys want to hear about. If you haven't already, I highly suggest you check out the playlist I have now on the YouTube channel. There is a ton of episodes with a ton of great guests and a whole bunch of great conversations I know you guys are going to love. But also, do not forget, I have the Patreon page. Remember, at the dollar level or higher, you're going to get all that exclusive bonus content, including the EX modes for every single one of these episodes. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of cool guests that I've had on lately, but let me know your guys' feedback in the comment section down below. Like the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So today, I have a recurring guest, or at least one that I have had you on a couple of my shows over the years and stuff. I have Darksydephil, DSP, or quote-unquote DSP Gaming on YouTube and stuff, but Phil Burnell. Phil, what's good? I mean, I haven't talked to you in a hot minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. Been super duper busy with keeping up everything with my full-time streaming.
Which is cool, and congrats, which is dope. You know, a lot of people out here now on YouTube in general, some of them get into streaming, they're in it for a while, but they're not like, you know, they don't last a long time. And I know I've been a fan, at least I've followed you for years. I think now almost as long as my career has been in the games industry, which is going close to about 10 years now, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah. All right. My first game coverage uploads to YouTube started actually in late 2008. So, yeah, I've pretty much been doing ongoing game coverage for almost 12 years now. We're getting there.
Yeah, so I'm just under that because I just hit my 10-year mark in the industry as of January. So, and I followed you a little bit after you just started, which I followed a lot of your Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo or Super Street Fighter 2 HD remix videos. That's where I first discovered you. So, and I think also I'm pretty sure I could claim fame to this, that I was your first interview on YouTube. Or at least one that covered like YouTube stuff specifically. Because I remember you and me talking on my old YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure about that, right?
That's very, very likely because we've known each other for quite some time. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case.
Because I know you've been on a couple other shows and stuff, but everybody seems to have skipped over the couple interviews that we've done and stuff. I'm like, yo, like what the hell? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's crazy. But the reason why I brought you on today, okay, is because we're going to talk about some stuff. And again, we're going to do an EX mode later on.
Okay, so let's get some confirmation about some stuff. So JJL here has been following him for about a decade. That's not too surprising. That would kind of make him a bit of a pay pig lifer, if you will. Not to say that he's a pay pig, of course, but it makes him it puts him into this echelon of long-term fans. He may even be only a periodical fan right now, right? He only comes in every once in a while. He may only dabble, if you will, and fill in some of his escapades, but been around for a long time. But that's interesting though, because in another interview he says he doesn't actually understand why Phil has the hate that he does, but you're boasting about, you know, knowing Phil for about a decade or so. Seems a bit interesting, but that doesn't mean that he consumed everything that Phil put out, so I guess that is what it is. Secondly, that I also find interesting, he had mentioned that Phil has done some other interviews, and he has. I would like to see more of those if I haven't gone over them already, so that'll be something to think about. But he says some of their interviews have been passed up. To be honest with you, as it pertains to our boy here, JakeJames Lugo, the only interview that I found, or that was presented to me, outside of the two that we're about to go over, is the Street Fighter V breakdown from 2016. I haven't seen much of anything else unless he has them on another channel, unless he has them privated, or I don't know, they've just been lost into the piggy void as most things are. But we'll see if any of that comes into fruition, and if any of it's good, we'll see what it has to say.
That subs to the Patreon page, so make sure you guys are looking out for that. If you haven't already subbed, make sure that you do. But I want to talk with you about, obviously, got the pandemic
this
going.
Guy right here actually does some shit with his Patreon page, or at least people enjoy his content, because Jesus Christ, Phil's Patreon is bullshit. I mean, people don't even get acknowledged though for Patreon stuff anymore, so it is what it is. I like to think though, to be honest, that the people who are still subscribed to Phil's Patreon are just people who have it on like an auto pull, or it's just like a monthly deduction that they just don't even think about, because that's kind of the situation with Spoonie One. Actually, if any of you guys have followed him for any period of time, he still has a Patreon up. I don't know how much he's getting now, probably next to nothing compared to the shit, 5,000, 7,000 he was getting a month. Something crazy like that back when he was supposed to do the Spoonie 1 movie, which honestly I think that was one of the things that actually broke Spoonie 1, sadly. But what are you gonna do? That's another story for another time, I suppose.
On. Which at the time that we're recording this is at the end of April, and there's been a lot of stuff that's happened. There's even stuff that happened near my house this morning. So it's been absolutely insane. But, you know, what's weird about this is that you've been streaming still. Everybody's at home right now. Everybody's checking out stuff on Twitch. Everybody's checking out stuff on YouTube and such. And you've been putting out content, I think it's every day now, correct?
Yeah, at least 6 days a week full time. Yes.
So tell me, what has that been like for you? Because now, obviously, you've been doing that for a while, even before this pandemic stuff started. What is streaming life like for you right now, with everything going on with the pandemic, with the isolation, the lockdown for a lot of people?
Well,
now keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this is back in April, and Phil, even during the pandemic, right? And I'm sure there's someone that'll be out there to correct me. I don't think Phil ever really hit any major strides as it pertains to viewership. Yes, money went up, you know what I'm saying, because his begging went up, obviously, which is kind of weird. You have a group of people, or at least you have some people who were out of work at that time, yet Phil felt a need and felt like he was obligated to ask for more money. Strange. Anyway, in any case, I should say, his viewership never really went up unless it was drama. You know what I'm saying? Or it was a new playthrough with a bunch of people who were kind of flooding the directory until they saw him and then interacted with the snorting, and then they basically dipped out. So he didn't actually benefit from the whole situation with COVID-19 as most content creators or even streamers had. Most streamers and content creators had large influxes in viewership or following, or in followers, I should say, or so on and so forth, subscriptions, whatever the case may be. He just made more money from the same people that were already there. Seems weird, right? You know what I'm saying? So much for that organic growth.
Surprisingly enough, being that this is my full-time occupation, I don't have another job outside of streaming. It really hasn't changed my lifestyle that much. I was around doing these full-time streams way before the pandemic. This is actually my 3rd anniversary just recently of being a full-time streamer. Before that, I was a full-time YouTuber, and then I transitioned over about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But really, not much has changed in regards to like my schedule. But what I've definitely noticed is I have a sharp increase in attendance on my streams. A lot more people are here live because I also archive my streams over on YouTube on my very long-standing channel, DSP Gaming. So if people can't watch it live, they can always catch it on demand afterward. And what I've noticed is not necessarily a decline of views on the YouTube channel, but an actual spike in attendance on the in-person streams because everyone's stuck at home right now.
When you're live, right? When you're live.
Exactly. Now, I do not archive my stuff on Twitch. That's right. When I'm live, more people are watching live now. And also, just being very honest, an increase in contributions on the streams because I think the feeling that a lot of people now are here.
Anyway, we had already talked about that part. We've actually covered both. Obviously, he's being a bit deceptive about that spike in live viewership. It really didn't go up as high as he's making it sound, especially since Phil isn't actually comfortable with large groups of people watching him on stream anyway. But he is right about the about donations, charity, contributions, whatever you want to call it. It's all the above in actuality. So that is yet very, very interesting.
They're in person. They want someone who, number one, has consistency. Right now, The thing that we all have is a really big interruption in all of our lives of how we normally do things. And to have something that's consistent and to have something that's consistently entertaining or positive is a good thing. I always say on my streams, I want to be the place where you guys can come and just kind of hang out and forget about all that craziness going on in the outside world, unplug from that for a few hours, and come hang out with me. I'll be here, 6 days a week. So you can come hang with me. And hey, that's exactly
people. And then on top of that, there's still YouTube, there's other avenues, there's still other outlets that you can absorb content from. So I don't know who it is that keeps feeding him that he's the most consistent person out there, because he's far from it, to be honest. But I don't know who's feeding that to him, but it's still kind of false. The only thing that is really consistent about Phil is his shitty behavior, his shitty gameplay, and his begging. That's the most consistent thing that you'll ever pull out of DSP, Darksydephil, Dark Geppetto, Dave, whatever. That's really what it comes down to. He keeps pushing this consistency angle yet again to try to justify or reaffirm that what he does is a job and it should be respected as such. In actuality, it's not even really about what he does is a job. It's not about acknowledging that. It's about the fact that what you do is pretty bad, and to be honest, your income is relying on begging, not on anything else. I don't think there's no need for anybody to be delusional about that anymore. That is how Darksydephil pays his bills, through begging. Tips, subs, bits. That's what it comes down to. Or bits and cheers are the same thing, but the reason why he doesn't bring up bits and or cheers is because that whole pseudo nonsense about how cheer or bits don't have value, despite the fact you have to pay to use them. Whatever. Just whatever. It's a thing. But outside of that, it's pretty much begging. He doesn't have a guaranteed contract with Twitch. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't get a set amount of money to stream on their platform, unlike more successful streamers. And I'm not even talking, and when you think about successful streamers, so to speak, I'm not even talking about your Pokemains, your Alinities, your Amarans, your, Shrouds, your Ninjas, or any of that shit. I'm just talking about people who can pull 1,000 or 2,000 viewers concurrently on their streams 3 or 4 days a week. You can make really good money on Twitch. Twitch can give you a really decent contract, on top of the fact of sponsorships, independent sponsorships for yourself, right? That either people that come to you or people who you go to, and then Twitch also kind of providing you some avenues or maybe some of their contacts that you can also go ahead and run some sponsorships through them as well. But these are opportunities that he doesn't have. He merely comes onto the platform, begs, gets paid, and then turns off, and then goes home, essentially. If you really break down how he makes his money. But whatever, let's continue.
What people have done, like I said, more attendance and people just being way more positive. Recently, I'd say probably in about a straight month now, that I've seen more attendance and more contributions on my streams.
But which is cool, obviously, for you, a little bit more money, a little bit more donations, which is good. Do you find that a lot of the people now that's...
Okay, I was thinking that he was... I thought maybe he was going to say, well, that's good for you. You have more people coming on stream. You know what I'm saying? You're having more interaction, which is in turn leading into more money. Nah, he went right to the money part. It's kind of funny. One could take that as a dig if Phil was a bit more open-minded to that, but whatever.
Spike that you've been getting with the viewership on the Twitch live streams, and I'm pretty sure there's been a little bit of a change on the archives on YouTube as well. Is that solely just because of the pandemic, or is it because people are discovering you through various different means because of the pandemic? Like, the difference is here, what I mean is that obviously there's a Twitch community, people share different stuff, some of their favorite streamers or whatever, but now that people are home and there's a lot more people at home that aren't necessarily always around on Twitch and stuff, are those the types of people that are now discovering your content? And I'm curious about this because I found it to be very fluctuating amongst different types of creators, both on Twitch and on YouTube.
Yeah, I would say for gaming is up everywhere, right? Like anyone who's doing anything related to gaming, since everyone's stuck at home, everyone is into video games right now.
True.
So being that I'm a full-time, video game content creator, that's definitely been a big thing. People are coming out to see, gee, who's playing the new game? Oh, here's, let me check out Darksydephil. And, they're discovering me for the first time. I've had people in the last month say, yeah, I've just kind of...
How many people, or those people discovering you and those people sticking around, are two separate things, though. And yet again, that reflects not just on his YouTube channel, but on his Twitch. So, under reasonable premise, right, there are people at home with a whole lot more time on their hands, and you start looking into the gaming directory, for example, on Twitch, or what's going on YouTube, and yes, at least to some degree, Phil's going to pop up. And so the discovery level is there to some degree. But how many of those people are actually sticking around to watch the content concurrently? He can't answer that question. Or he can, but he won't. Right? So you being discovered by a bunch of people is one thing. how many of those people are actually sticking around and actually taking in the content is another. It's incidental. If 100 people find your channel, right? And after, let's say, a month, let's go with that. Let's say 100 people in a month find your channel. If, at least for someone who does this full time, for a living, if you will, if those people aren't subbing to your YouTube channel, if they're not viewing your content, consistently, or if they discover your streams and they're not following your channel, let alone subbing or giving any types of donations or charity to you, then what good is it? Like, if you really think about it. You know what I'm saying? And you're talking about at a time where, yeah, people are bored, people don't have a whole lot to do, and so on and so forth. At the same time, though, there's options. And you can sit there and listen to Phil for 15, 20 minutes, if you can make it that far, and come to the realization very quickly that I don't need this. His chat doesn't help either. So you can go on and find other people in the directory. Also, how often is Phil ever the top guy in a particular category in anything that he plays on Twitch? Not very much. How often is it that people go to Phil to find out what the new game's being played right now? How often does that happen? Not often. Because there are people who either get influencer copies, get review copies, or just people who are already subscribed to very popular channels and don't get all the time in the world to watch them. So now that they have the time, they just go off and watch them. That's another thing, too, that kind of makes this argument not slightly incidental. Because you got to think, there are always going to be people. There are people who are subscribed to all these different channels and they never get a chance to watch all of it. They kind of pick and choose what they need, depending on how much time they have, right? Now that they have all this time, most of those people have backlogs upon stuff to go after and to go through, if you will. And the way YouTube is set up now, oh, you're watching a whole bunch of this person right here. Oh, well, this person right here plays the same game or talks about the same topic, or this is similar to the subject you're already watching. Maybe you should go ahead and check this person out on recommendations, and so on and so forth. How often do you think Phil Burnell actually comes up on those recommendations, given that you have someone who went from having between 13 and 15 million views a month down to, let's go ahead and do some investigation work. Let's see here. You are at, yikes, oh boy, we're at 740,000 views for the month currently. Goddamn Phil. That's just depressing. Jesus Christ, I feel slighted for you. Jesus Christ. Anyway, there you go. So, just to give you guys some perspective as it pertains to, I'm sorry, that's hurtful. Imagine going, I'm gonna derail this because you know how I do. How do you go from 13 to 15 million views a month down to 700,000 plus views a month on YouTube? And yes, he's a full-time streamer, and I only archive stuff for my longtime fan base and blah, 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 blah. But in actuality, the fan base is dried up if you just went ahead and took all this into context. Woo, okay. Well, let's just go ahead and continue, shall we? Damn, that must hurt.
Stumbled upon your content, and this is really cool. So I would definitely say that element. But on the flip side of that, I would also say I get the feeling it's a lot of people who would only watch on YouTube. Maybe they don't get a chance to catch the live streams because otherwise they would be at work or at school. And now that there's no work or school, obviously they have a chance to watch it live during the daytime as well. So it's a combination factor, I would say. But definitely there's been an influx of new people in the last month, I've noticed.
So with that being said, though, do you find yourself doing things that are a little bit different now that, because, again, things are changed, with everybody's lives, and now everybody's able to have the time or at least have the means to actually be home and look at this type of stuff? And again, looking at your content, looking at a lot of other people's content, because you're not the only streamer that's out there, obviously, on Twitch and on YouTube. People are perusing the internet in different ways. Do you find yourselves doing a little bit different things here and there, whether it's on camera or the types of games that you're playing, in order to kind of like either retain that audience or even to get more of those types of people right now?
No. For one, Phil has kind of already established that of how consistent he is, right? And what he was doing before the pandemic, he's doing afterwards. I appreciate you trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but no, he's already answered that question. So no, he's not doing that. As it pertains to the competition out there, Phil has been behind the 8 ball forever. He'll never catch up. He'll never catch up because he doesn't have a reason to. There's no justification to why he should have to change. Phil looks at where he's at right now and he's like, oh, well, look at where I'm at. I'm not that bad, I guess. Whatever. That's a matter of opinion, I suppose. I'm not that bad, or I'm not that far off, or I'm not, I'm not so far out of the stratosphere where, things are going terrible for me. And so if I've been doing this for this long and I'm okay where I'm at right now, why should I change? Even though the flip side of that coin, if you will, or the other side of that snort, is the fact that Phil is behind. He's far behind. He doesn't get nearly the amount of viewership that he should get, not only on his YouTube channel, but on his Twitch. He doesn't have good retention. He doesn't have good viewer retention, I should say. He probably doesn't have very good stream retention either, or if he has, it's been dipping over the span of the last couple months. He doesn't have anything to actually grip people. His only real draw is the fact that he plays a number of different video games. But at the end of the day, what good is any of that if he plays them all terribly? In a lot of ways, he plays them all the same way. I'll go even further than that. In a lot of ways, he treats streaming just like as he treats YouTube. I've said this before. Plenty of people have. It's no different. He hasn't completely assimilated into being a full-time streamer because he treats it as YouTube. He's doing it the laziest way possible. Why would you want to change something up like that when it's an easy lick? And since Phil has no pride and he has no care of his self-image, sorta, he doesn't care that he begs to live. At the end of the day, he's comfortable with where he's at and what he's doing to continue to maintain where he's at. Because you have to understand, he's not looking forward to trying to get better. He doesn't actually have any future plans or prospects. Because if he did, he would do things different. And he doesn't. He chooses to fail, essentially. And what good is any of that? And as the fan base continues to dry up more and more and more, and as the pay piggies, or what I like to call the grease, is being reduced, as the grease essentially reduces and starts to burn away, then what is he going to have? He's running out of people to bleed. He's legit running out of people to bleed. And then all these Johnny-come-latelys who come through with their little troll stuff or whatever, they don't stick around long. It's only like a month or two, maybe 3. And the reason why that is one, he's a money pit and it's not worth it. 2, I think you realize, whether you're trolling or not, that his greed is almost insatiable. Or it is insatiable, I think. It's insatiable. So there'll never be... You would have never given enough money to be put on the pedestal that Brightside Viking was once on. And that's what a lot of these guys chased. Swaggins did, Straight Cash Homie did, King Tut theoretically kind of did. They all did. They all try to... It's always a bunch of people trying to fill the power vacuum that used to be Brightside Viking. They'll never get that. You got to understand, Brightside Viking wasn't just some dude who gave him a shitload of money, but he was also a confidant. He was also his sergeant in arms. Like, the dude did dirt for him. A lot of dirt. You know what I mean? Like, there's, like, the amount of blood that's on his hands... figuratively speaking, of course, like, you know what I'm saying, in Minecraft, if you will, the blood that's on his hands in Minecraft is on some next level shit. There's nobody that's been that dedicated to Phil. He'll never get that back. And Phil was quick to stab him in the back the first chance he got, thinking that Twitch was going to end up kicking him off for the Blood Gods. So if Phil would have someone who spent years completely and totally devoted to him and still stab him in the back and give him the Blood Eagle treatment, what do you think he'd do to the rest of these cucks? Something to think about.
Yeah, I would say a few things. First of all, when you know that there's such a negative thing going on in the real life world, you want to try to at least be someone or be a place where people can not have more negativity, you know? So I've actively tried to...
So they go to Darksydephil for less negativity? Really? Interesting. I was not aware of that.
stave off any kind of active trolling on my channel. I've had my moderator step it up a page this last month to make sure that we don't get people completely derailing the stream chat, that people can focus on the games. I've tried to actively step out of my comfort zone on being hyper-focused on the game and interact a lot more with the people in the stream chat in a positive way, because I want them to feel engaged, and I want them to feel like this is a place you can have fun and escape from, the stress that you have right now in your real life. And it's worked, it's definitely worked. Incidentally, my viewers came up with something very silly in the last month that has been working on a daily basis. It's really silly. So I never usually do any kind of a celebratory thing or a stunt if we hit a goal. I almost never have done that. Like, it would be okay if we.
But what about when you had like that birthday blower nonsense that you did all week, or just his week-long birthday celebration? What about the few times that people asked you to dab? What about, wait a second, there's been a couple of key clown mode type moments to keep not only the brain tips in, but to keep tips in. But now we're going to act like, oh, I've never done any stunts before to actually, when large amounts of money have been given to me. That's what those other streamers do. That's what those other cucks do. I don't need to do that. Really? Oh boy. Oh boy.
Hit a goal today, like, it's a milestone for something. That's great, and we say thanks, but then we just move on. But this weird thing happened about a month ago. I was doing a marathon stream. It was what I call a retrospective, where we go back down memory lane and we watch my content from the last, decade plus that I've been making.
Kind of like reminisce a little bit, in some way. Exactly.
And it just so happened someone picked a vlog that I had done like 10 years ago, and I was wearing this vest, like this stuffed vest that you would wear like outdoors when it's colder, like in the fall. And they were like, "We have never seen you wear that vest before. What the heck is that? And do you still have it?" And I was like, "I don't know. Give me a second." And I went downstairs. I looked at my closet. Lo and behold, I had it in the back of my closet.
That's funny.
Untouched. Like, I hadn't worn this thing in like 10 years. And it just sat there dusty. So I brushed it off. I put it on, and people were like, "That's hilarious that you have this vest. That's a 10-year-old vest. You never worn it, and here it is." But then people basically said, well, that was a cool thing that happened. That's like a connection with the viewers. If you hit a fundraising goal, like every day on my streams, we have certain things going on, whether it's like a monthly subscribers goal that we try to hit on Twitch, my Twitch channel.
I like the fact that he was honest to say a daily fundraiser goal. I kind of like how I kind of like that. I wish he would just call it a charity goal, because that's really what it is. To be honest, that's really what it actually comes down to. But I don't think I've ever heard him actually talk about this. At least describe the vest streak in this way. So this is kind of a rare glimpse for me. Oh boy.
Or every day I have like a daily tips goal. Gee, can we hit this number of tips today? That would be amazing. And in reality, I almost never do. And I'm very grateful for anything I get. But it's always good to have like a goal that you're striving for.
Yeah, no.
So one day we hit the tips goal randomly. And I'm like, "That's so good. What would you guys like?" And they said, "Go put on the vest." I was like, "Okay, that's you really want me to put on the vest?" Right, sure. I put on the vest, and I'm not kidding you. It's now been 51 straight streams where I have hit my tips goal, and I keep putting the vest on.
Because of this vest? Like, that's kind of funny. Like, it's random.
It's crazy. It's nuts. I never expected it. I didn't think that people were going to care about something silly like that. And, I try to come up with other stuff, too. Oh, I'll put on a pair of glasses, or I'll put on my hat. And they don't really care about that. They just, like, we want the vest.
I remember the hat. I remember the 10.
Okay, sure. Has he, just in case I've missed it, has he actually told this guy what the amount of money they have to raise to actually hit that vest goal? And here's the thing. Phil just said just a minute ago, "Oh, I've tried to do other things different. Like, I try to put on glasses or a hat." We're talking legit Mr. Potato Head type shit. But I'm not a children's entertainer. I'm not a clown. I'm not a Muppet like some of those other guys. That's what separates my content from their content. Take it all in, ladies and gentlemen. Take it all in.
Got it. hat you have, like when you do your when you do your mailbag videos from a while back over
That's
on
right.
King of Fate vlogs. I remember that. That's been a thing for like years and stuff like that. I don't remember this vest though. Like
it just came out of nowhere. The thing I think the reason I think it works is because it's something that was completely out of the blue. It's silly, and it was picked by the viewers. I didn't come up with it. The viewers on the fly kind of figured out this was kind of something silly and interesting. And now, like I said, it's been almost a solid month that I've been streaming that this has been happening constantly.
That's cool. At least that's a cool little thing. You know?
Only if he knew what was going to happen 3 or 4 months down the line. Oh, so much overtime, so much stalling, so much begging and pleading that they either hit the vest goal before gameplay or as early in the stream as possible, or say, hey guys, I have stuff to do with my wife tonight. I can't stay late. I can't do overtime. Please tip me as soon as possible. Oh my god. Oh, everything he touches turns to shit. And it doesn't even matter that he keeps reiterating that, oh, they came up with it. It was something that the audience wanted. It was something out of the blue. It was something, he didn't say organic, but he's kind of hinting at that. Hint, hint. It's something that the audience wanted. They chose this, and that's why it's been successful. Well, if that's the case, then, Phil, let's be honest, right? Let's put all the snorts to the side for a minute. If the audience chooses things, had made this up, or chose this, or whatever, and it's been successful, then why is it that when the audience asks you to play certain games, you won't play it? Or when the audience asks for certain special events or certain things that you could do and whatnot, you don't do them when it seems obvious that they would support them? Let me give you an example. Phil's talking recently about maybe him and his wife going to the movies or so on and so forth. People immediately have brought up, well, why don't you guys go and check a movie, and then you guys can come back and do a review. Actually, I'm sorry. No one has actually said that yet. I thought about that. I let the cat out the bag. Anyway, he should do that. But he has been talking about going to the movies, though. So my initial thoughts were, well, shit, someone in his audience needs to go ahead and be like, hey, you guys we'll actually go ahead and cough up the money for you guys to see this particular movie or whatever, and then you guys could come back and do like a dual review of it. Couples do that all the time. And that shit actually gets pretty good views on YouTube. So that's a thing. So for any of you pay piggies out there, you're welcome. Also, remember, buy one, get one on SnortBucks. Don't forget that. Also, so anyway, that's a thing that he could do, but it's a derivative of an idea that people had asked him for since Panda left his bitch ass. That, hey Phil, we'll go ahead and cough up, somebody said multiple times, I'll cough up the money for you to go and check out this movie because I'd love for you to get your opinion on it. I'd love for you to do a review on it. Oh, well, if I go to the movies, I mean, I got to figure out a night to take off, and then when I get there, I might want something. And then a couple other pay piggies came in and said, oh, well, we'll cough up the money I'll cough up an extra $20 or $30 for you to get soda or whatever you want, and so on and so forth, as long as you do the review. And he kept brushing that shit off. And this is just one of many ideas that the audience, his fan base, the cult, whatever you want to call them, have tried to give him, and he's always turned it down. But we're willing to go ahead and keep doing this vest streak shit and keep begging for it to keep going, to keep continuing, I should say. But yet, once we want to use the caveat, we want to go ahead and put the pretense out there that, hey, this wasn't my idea, this was your idea, and that's why it's successful, and that's why you can't afford to let it end. You guys can't afford to let this fail. But at the same time, if this is such a good idea and it's such a positive idea, why won't you take into consideration some of the previous ideas that were given to you? And those were ideas to not only help you directly, obviously, but to help your YouTube channel or even your Twitch channel. And he never took any of those things into consideration. He immediately came up with all these reasons on why he couldn't do it or why he wouldn't do it or so on and so forth. Whereas with this right here, the moment he got his $100, he embraced it and he kept it moving. Now he's so desperate to keep the damn thing going that we're willing to go into hour and a half overtimes to do so. And even with the fake or veiled threats that, oh, I can't go into overtime, they damn well know that he will go into overtime because Phil needs this money. So at the end of the day, maybe, just maybe, you should listen to the very people who you depend on for support. maybe that will carry you further than what you're doing now. Or what you've been doing, I should say. I don't know. Food for thought, I guess. Or snort for thought.
So, despite everything else and going alongside with the stream and stuff. Now, I want to know, though, about games, though, specifically. Like, have you been changing up things that, with the types of games that you play? Because I looked at a couple of your VODs, on various different stuff on your channel and also a little bit on the Twitch stream. I mean, I saw you, obviously, you're going back and playing a lot of Street Fighter Anniversary Collection. I saw now you're playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. I just completed that for review and stuff. I mean, you got a mixture of current and, like, retro stuff. Have you been looking at different types of games to stream or at least to play for people now that the pandemic stuff is going on at the current moment?
Well, he calls himself the king of retro, despite the fact that the older games chap his ass even more than the newer ones. First off and foremost, the Street Fighter or 30th anniversary, I should say, is his weekly opportunity to try to prove that he was somebody in something when it comes to the FGC. It's funny. I want you to take this into context, and the only reason why I thought about this is because big ups to Jose. And big ups to Goji, who popped up under one of my videos. I've got both your comments, by the way, especially Goji. I have your comment about he'd be willing to take you on as a roommate or whatever, even though I feel like he'd kick you out after like a month because you just keep beating his ass and he'd never win. But I think in that month he would learn a lot. I have something planned for you, Goji, in particular, because I saw Ludwig World Order's video that he made. I like what I saw there. I did. That might have to be like a pseudo stream or something. So don't worry about that. But on the next Street Fighter, whether Street Fighter pseudo stream, whether we go over the Ludwig World Order video, or just on the next Snort report that has Street Fighter, Goji, I'll put you in there and definitely spotlight it. Same thing with you. Big ups to you guys. Big ups to Baby Maverick too. He's that third killer that's out there floating. He plays a lot of Super Turbo. He's the one with the crazy bison. So big up to the three of them. There's one more guy too, who pops in there occasionally, and for the life of me, I can't remember his name, and I feel bad. Because that dude is a mess. He can make shit happen sometimes. Once he gets into a rhythm, he starts off slow. I think the reason why that is too is not that I'm microanalyzing your gameplay or anything, but I think one of the reasons why is you're initially hesitant because of the characters that Phil picks. Here's the thing, if you're even listening to this, do not... Okay. Phil approaches every character pretty much the exact same way. So I believe that you're overthinking your gameplay when it comes to Phil and to his approach at the end of the day. If you're going to... You being hesitant and going on the defense forces Phil to come forward, which is what Phil wants because he believes you're scared or he believes you're intimidated. That's how you've been, at least a few times that I've seen you beast him. That was one of, not your saving grace, but that was one of your advantages. Because he immediately thought that, oh, okay, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, or this guy seems a bit hesitant, I'm going to take advantage of that. And he's not very good on the rush like that. He's not. And it's very obvious that you can see his patterns. You can see the breaks in his patterns, I should say. Just switch up how you take advantage of them. Because essentially when you're playing somebody like that, you're conditioning them. You're training them to react a certain way that you want. You see that a lot with Goji. You see that a lot with Evil AJ. You see that, well, if he wouldn't run from Jose, you would probably see that from Jose. You see that with Baby Maverick. You would see that with a lot of these guys. Same concept with you. I think you already instinctively know when the breaks are going to be in his approach. Switch up how you decide to take advantage of that, and you'll always keep him off base. As he starts to recognize your name, he's going to become more and more hesitant to approach you, just like he does with Goji tanks. And then you get to kind of be a fourth Hokage like Jose, and he's gonna flee on sight from you. It is what it is. But that's just something to kind of think about moving forward. But as it pertains to Street Fighter 30th anniversary, that's all that is. That's him just trying to relive his glory days. But not just that. Phil has spent a large amount of time shitting on people like Maximilian and other pro fighting game players that, oh, they only play these type of games because that's the only way they can get attention and that's how they get money from their fan bases. And I don't need to do that. I'm a variety streamer. I don't need any of that. so on and so forth, right? He's so much better than they are because they only play one game, or at least he thinks they do. And he plays a variety of games. If that's the case, why would Phil force himself to play, in his words, a shitty game week after week after week? For no good reason, if you think about it. Has anybody ever taken that into consideration? At all? He'll go ahead and shit on Maximilian. He'll shit on Smug. He'll shit on all those dudes. You know what I'm saying? When they have their Street Fighter streams or their fighting game streams or whatever the case that they're playing, or whatever the case may be. But he does the same shit every Friday too. Just because he switches it up the other 5 days, that makes him so much better? It don't. He garners the most attention on Street Fighter on Fridays, to be honest. I mean, the YouTube videos don't, interestingly enough, but his streams pretty much do. And with all that attention, I should say, is where a large influx of some of that money comes through. Not to say that he hasn't had to stall, or he's not had to reiterate that, you guys, I only have 10 minutes left, I only have 5 minutes left, I only have 2 snorts left, so on and so forth. Let's be honest, that's every stream. But it's something, yet again, that he forces himself to do with what little payoff. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of it, if you think about it? And does that not make him somewhat of a hypocrite? Because he doesn't know what the fuck Smug and all them guys do on their off time. Unlike Phil, they play games and it doesn't have to be posted. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to do that for a living. At the end of the day, they stream because they enjoy it, and they stream what they are actually champions in, what they've actually achieved something in. What has Phil achieved in Street Fighter outside of a couple of EVO qualifiers that no one gives a flying fuck about, a couple of local tournaments that no one even remembers, and then the one thing that he's propagated for the last 15 years, give or take, but really for a decade is when he was really steamrolling through this, was his 5th place or his 4th place finish at EVO 2005, which people had clowned that back then. Just something to think about. I always thought that was a really shitty thing for him to say when he theoretically kind of does the same thing. You know what I mean? And especially with all the people who ask him to play Street Fighter V, and they legitimately sit there and actually play it, and he won't do it because he's so disappointed that it's not like Super Turbo. That's just pathetic in itself, but whatever.
The thing right now is, for a lot of people like myself who are full-time content creators, the future is very uncertain, because we had a lineup of games that were coming out in the next few months that at this point, because of the pandemic, it looks like exactly we don't know what's going to happen. We know The Last of Us 2 is now
Cyberpunk,
indefinite.
big one.
Cyberpunk's been delayed till the fall. Ghosts of Tsushima are supposed to be coming out in May, but if Sony already delayed Last of Us, obviously that's the next one to go. So, we don't really know as content creators what we'll be able to play. For me, I kind of lucked out because this is a time when there were a significant amount of new releases. Just in the last month, you had games like Doom Eternal, the Final Fantasy VII Remake, Resident Evil 3 Remake, and those are big, heavy-hitting games that people wanted to see. But I'm a variety streamer. I tell everyone I don't just focus on one game and try to beat it right away. What I try to do is balance my stream. So you come to my stream one day, you're going to see me play a new release. The next day, it's a retro. The next day, it's just like a chill game. And I like that because it gives people variety rather than knowing me just as the guy who does one thing. I don't like to pigeonhole myself into one kind of content. And not to say that there's anything wrong with it.
But he did that for years, though, theoretically. Theoretically, all he did was YouTube. Even when YouTube was going through his ups and downs, even when he should have changed, he didn't. And even now, he's still only really reliant, if you think about it, he's only really reliant on Twitch. Yeah, he gets his, $2,000 or $3,000 a month off his YouTube content, maybe, if it's even that high. But outside of that, it's pretty much all Twitch. If Twitch falls, where's he coming? He's coming right back to the gal to see him over here on YouTube. And I've already told you guys how his YouTube views are failing. The streaming would help for a little while. You know what I'm saying? He's going to garner some good numbers at first, as you saw during the whole suspension/banning saga. But after a while, at least people who aren't frequent watchers of Darksydephil type of content, you know what I'm saying, or aficionados, if you will, or connoisseurs, if you will, is probably the better word. Once outside of those people, everybody else who are kind of just the casual watchers, they'll eventually fade out. And his attitude and his behavior is one of the linchpins on why he's where he's at. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. He's a genuinely shitty person. You can't fake that. You know what I'm saying? You can't fake to be a good person when you're not. And if you can only do it for so long until eventually who you are comes out. You know what I mean? And that goes both ways. Like that, when you look at the detractor community, for example, boy, you got to be careful. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's either die a detractor or live long enough to become the thing that you detracted against. It is what it is. At the end of the day, despite the fact that there are certainly a lot more decent people on the detractor side than over there on Phil's side, but that's tit for tat. Make of that what you will. But he's not it all comes down to himself. It comes down to his behavior. It comes down to his approach. He's just not a good person. He doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself, and it translates through the games. Like, watching him play games is like watching somebody at a fucking in middle management that's never going to advance past a certain point keep doing the same shit day after day after day. It's like watching The Living Dead. And that's wild. And then to make it even worse is they want to sit there and tell you about all the things that they used to be and all the advantages that they used to have or all the things that they used to do. But they're not doing that now. And what do you have to show for it? Something to think about.
People who are considered experts at a certain kind of gaming content, that's a whole other, audience and genre than what I do.
Yeah.
But definitely what I've tried to do is mix it up. I don't want to just say, okay, I was just doing new releases, but now because there's no new releases, now we're stuck. What do we do? So that's why I've tried to do variety, and I already have a few games on the docket. For example, the viewers did this big viewers' choice poll, and they determined they wanted to see me play Banjo-Tooie, the sequel to Banjo-Kazooie. I'd never played that one before, and I just started that on Friday. And of course, those games from back in the day, the Nintendo 64 era Collection Quest games, very big and very long. You know that one's going to be one that's going to be like, 30, 40 hours if I go for all the items and puzzles in the game. So it's funny because I get the feeling some people who do kinds of content that are always reliant on the hot new release or the hot new viral game may have some difficulty with what they're doing, but I'm striving to just do a big variety.
He's like that even now. When Phil does retro games, how long can he really garner the type of attention that would make it overall profitable? How many retro games has Phil Burnell played? DSP, Darksydephil, Dark Geppetto. How many retro games has he played and eventually went from mainstream to chill stream to essentially back burner? Oh, we'll finish that up later because there's a bunch of new releases coming up and you guys aren't really clicking with this content the way I thought you were. It'll come back later on. How many of those things have gone on the back burner? Plenty. Not all of them, but plenty of them have. So, and when the new releases come up, Phil will damn near drop everything to make sure that he's on top of it and he's playing it. Just saying. So he can't sit there and throw shade at that or at those people, if you will, when he did that his whole time on YouTube and he still does that on Twitch. Jesus Christ, this guy got so mad at the fact that he couldn't get a copy of State of Decay 2 early that he paid $20 extra to get it 4 days early, or was it 5 days early? I think it was 4 days early, because I think the influencers, the people who actually give a fuck about that game, they got it like a week early. He paid like $20 extra, I think, to get the game 4 days early, and I think he stopped playing it after the 4 days. He may have not have given it any more than a week, and he was done. So how much did he really give a shit about it? But then we went on this huge spiel about calling people shells and shit too. Keep that in mind as well.
of stuff, so that way, even if the new releases dry up, I still kind of have stuff on the back burner that I can bring into my streams and not run out of content.
So let me ask you this, though, because I think that you bring up an interesting point. Do you think, though, at least for the people that are playing some of the new games now, again, we're talking in the April timeframe, we're going into May and stuff, some of the newer releases are longer games. Final Fantasy VII Remake is a big one. I saw you playing Animal Crossing New Horizons not too long ago. Doom Eternal, I think, is also pretty meaty as well. Some of these games now, luckily for us, are games that are going to be playing for 20 plus hours in some way. Do you feel like at least those types of games are going to balance out, at least, you know, not being able to get some of those bigger games that are going to be coming out later on? Granted, again, in your case, you're playing some older games like Street Fighter, like Banjo-Tooie, etc. But at least with some of these newer games, there are longer games that you're going to be spending time with that will keep people interested, and at least allow you to keep pumping out content and stuff. Do you think that balances things out for someone like you?
Absolutely, and you know, not just someone like me, but just the common gamer. You know, right now, everyone's got their purse strings tightened because of what's going on.
Big time.
And if you're looking to see what game you want to buy, are you going to buy a game that's a 5-hour experience or a game that's a 50-hour experience? Right? It's actually very fortuitous for us that we have.
Does the game that have, if the game that has 5 hours experience, does it have replay value? Just asking. Is it like story based where I can go different, that I can go up go through a story tree, if you will, and I can choose different options depending on the characters I'm playing or depending on that character choice? Is that an option? Like, there's a bit more to it than just to go ahead and dismiss it as he's getting ready to do right now. But semantics, I suppose.
Media games that have all come out within a very short period of time, and some games, like you just mentioned, Animal Crossing, that game doesn't have a definitive ending. That's a game that's very relaxed.
Straight up.
That's right. You simulate a community. It's very, very relaxing. You know, you want to stress-free chill. You know, and that's a game that people could be playing for months and months. Hey, for a year. The other thing is they've already had content updates with holidays and things.
That's
April, a perfect kind of game to come. That's right. It's the springtime stuff hitting, and man, did they make out. They are such a high, very high selling game, which I think shocked everyone. How many copies of Animal Crossing sold just because of the kind of game it is right now. I think you've got content creators, you've got just standard gamers. Everyone is into it, right? Absolutely, everyone is like, that's a game that we would want right now because it fills that gap until we get more bigger, higher new releases.
Exactly. And I feel like it works out for you guys because, again, that's a game that could almost never end, but it's like you could play that for such an extended period of time. And even if those games that are big now, like Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, or even Cyberpunk, or even, again, there's a whole bunch of other games that, again, we could just look at the list there and just see like what's coming out at the end of this year. It could tide you over, and you could even just survive on those games as a Twitch streamer, as a content creator, because there's communities of people that care just about those games, which is crazy. Even if you decided not to be a variety streamer, you could just live on Animal Crossing, it feels like, because there's just so much things you could do, even just interacting with chat, interacting with other content creators, just creating your stuff so people could just, contribute to the types of the types of things you could do in the game and all these different types of things like that. Again, that's just one example. But what do you feel like, at least right now, being in the pandemic that we are right now, what type of games would you avoid? Because I think it's interesting, like, there's all these different games that we would dive into. What are the types of games that you would avoid, though? Like, for me, I mean, granted, Street Fighter, that's your jam, that's my jam as well, and that's like something that the FGC would really be all over, even in times like this. But what are the types of genres or the types of games that you would actively avoid in a time like this?
Man, I hate to say it, but there's probably going to be a lot of games that are not lengthy experiences that maybe really we're going to be very apprehensive about spending money on a shorter game.
I just thought of something right now, like a game that I think that a lot of people would avoid, granted, the name aside and stuff, would be Resident Evil 3 Remake, because the Resident Evil 3 Remake is kind of short, but granted, that's the Resident Evil brand name.
Right, and you know what? Fair enough. If it didn't have the Resident Evil brand name, it probably wouldn't have done very well. Because, compare that to Resident Evil 2 Remake, which was pretty much twice as long, but the same price. That's what's going to happen, is you're going to have people now making these direct comparisons. Well, wait a minute. Final Fantasy VII Remake is like 40 plus hours.
Yeah.
Doom Eternal is like 20 to 25 hours just playing single player. I didn't even touch the multiplayer yet, right? And then you look at Resident Evil 3 Remake and you're like, well, this one's only like 7-8 hours, and it's $60, and yeah, there's a multiplayer mode, but it really has nothing to do with the core game. Is this something that I want to sink my money into? Now, by the way, I played Resident Evil 3 Remake,
Good point,
and
by the way. They do make a good point when it comes to Resident Evil 3. But also, that is also something that needs to be put on the list on that Nemesis bell tower fight, or clock tower fight. I need to put that on the list, because that was 30 plus minutes of nonsense that shouldn't have been nearly as long as it was. Oh well, I guess we can laugh about that later on.
Even though I agree with a lot of people that it's not as good as Resident Evil 2 Remake, I do think it's an outstanding game, so it's definitely worth playing. You're going to get quality out of it if you play it, but if you're really looking for bang for your buck, you're right. I mean, only 8 hours for $60 is a pretty hard sell. So what may happen is one of two things. Either people are going to flock to cheap games, so this may be a time when indie games...
The sales right now on eShop and PSN, that they're making a killer right now. I don't know if you saw the big Japan sale. Like, there's some big games on there that are, again, for someone like you, great to stream, but for fans, people that just love games and stuff, that are big sale items that people could just pick up for like $10 or less.
Anything that's a cheap price point right now is going to sell, even if it's not necessarily the best game, because people are trying to stretch their wallets. And, that's, like I was just about to say, indie games that typically are cheaper are going to end up, getting, I think, a lot more high profile highlighting. And, any mainstream hyped games that may have come out during this time period have to have meaty content, or else you're going to have people who are going to be very apprehensive about buying them. So, it's funny because we talk about Ghost of Tsushima. I don't know how long that game would have been. We don't know if it's even coming out still in May. But if that's a game that after reviewers get their hands on it, they're like, yeah, it's 12 hours long. I don't know if people are really going to be willing to spend their hard-earned money right now when things are tight on a game that's not going to give them a lengthy experience.
You could still have a sweet experience that's short and stuff, but I think now there's a lot of other factors that come into it that are influencing the buying decisions for a lot of people. And again, the big sales coming out now with the eShop, with PSN, with Xbox Live, stuff like Games Pass, and even the bunch of the free games that people are just getting now from these different companies are really changing up like the buying habits of a lot of people, which I think is going to work out in the end. Granted, we're all still in isolation and stuff. One thing I do also want to ask, though, because again, I feel like you would know.
Before they move on to the next subject, it's a shame that Phil didn't actually play some of those games. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about like a lot of those free games that were coming up, he doesn't do Humble Bundle, or any of those things like that. There's a lot of indie games out there that he could be showcasing to his audience. People have asked for this, and people have said this all before. But there are plenty of games that he could make an opportunity, or he could have had an opportunity to showcase for other people. There was a time, not too long ago, where people were really trying to push him towards indie games that were on console, and he could have carved out a niche for himself. Same thing with the whole King of Retro, when he was on that retro kick for a while, because of, I think this was right around the time the Nintendo Mini and the Sega Mini and all that came out. I don't know if you ever got the TurboGrafx 16 one, but there was at a time when a lot of those retro games were being remastered and so on and so forth, and he was really, I guess you could say, he was starting to formulate a name around all of that. He eventually gave that up because Phil's a quitter, but he could have built something off of that as well. He had some opportunities to carve something out for himself, a piece, but because he wouldn't have been the first one to do it, and because people do it better than he does, he ended up giving up on it, which is a shame, because at the end of the day, nothing is going to come to you without diligence. You know what I mean? You have to, you kind of have to work with it, and no one says you can't change it, but you kind of have to still work at it. And then you branch off. You find out what works, what doesn't. You experiment a little bit. What do you have to lose? It's new. You know what I'm saying? Or what you're doing is new, I should say. And some people will appreciate the change. Some people who want to stay the way it is. Some people just call it outright garbage. I know what that sounds like. So it is what it is. But that's kind of the point. That all goes in the growth process. But it's not something that he ever really picked up on. You know what I mean? If he doesn't get immediate success with something, he just drops it and just goes on to something else, or goes loafing back to the shit that he was already doing. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for someone with a business degree, but what are you going to do?
little bit about this being streaming like all the time and stuff. What do you feel like, at least in your opinion, you know, is the toughest thing when it comes to streaming at a time like this? Because granted, like you said before, you've already been streaming from home for, you know, for the longest now at this point. But now that things are a little bit changing up and things are a little bit kind of like, you know, shifting in the landscape for streamers and for content creators now during this pandemic, what is the most difficult thing, at least for you right now, to do with your own content?
Oh, it's a good question. I would say there's actually two distinct things that I kind of have to focus on. And the first is understanding that my streams are a place where people are coming to kind of escape the stress of real life. Yeah. I can't make my stream a political soapbox. I can't make my stream...
Political is the least of your worries when you sit there and tell people that, hey, I need you guys to contribute so I can keep doing this for a living. Hey, I need you guys to contribute so I can get groceries. Hey, I need you guys to contribute to get the new games, to do so on and so forth. Like, you got to understand, he's said multiple times in this that, oh, my streams are supposed to be an escape. My content is supposed to be an escape from the dramas of the real world. But all you're doing is getting drawn into the dramas of his world. You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't really compute. Like, okay, forget about all the bullshit that you guys are dealing with. Come and deal with my shit. And then pay me all this money and whatnot so I can be good. And then you guys go back to your own lives, right? Into your own situations and circumstances with less money and even more mentally drained because you've been dealing with someone else's bullshit instead of actually dealing with your own? What sense does that make? Literally, what sense does that make?
Right now for everybody, like everybody's got to deal with that.
It's almost as if he looks at his chat or his audience, they're only there to entertain him, and then when he's done with them, he just shoos them away and goes back to his life, whatever that may consist of, and then they're stuck holding the bag. It's almost like they're losing out no matter what. Yikes.
That's like so rampant.
Right. You know, everyone is all political about what's going on in the world and what should have been done, what can be done. And I don't want that to happen on my stream. I don't want people to start getting all arguing about, you know, the implications of politics. Or, I mean, I'll be honest. Do I ban talk about the coronavirus on my streams? No, I don't. But at the same time, I make it known right before every stream I do. Like, listen, a lot of people are really messed up and stressed out right now. You know, we're in a bad way.
Does it get bad right now, like, with that? Because I know in some streams that I've seen from other creators and stuff, it could get pretty bad, and sometimes they'll use, like, bots and stuff, or even they'll just let it be because, like, it's so rampant.
The thing is, like I said, I definitely don't want to ban discussion. I mean, it's the biggest thing going on in the world right now. You can't ban outright discussion.
You can't ignore it.
Exactly. It's everywhere. But at the same time, that's kind of my point, is it's already everywhere. It's not like there's a single person who's been living in a cave who came out and said, what? What's this? You know, everyone knows what's happening. So I don't want my gameplay stream that's supposed to be an escape for people to then become, let's just talk about this all day. And I tell my viewers right up front, I'm okay if you want to talk about it, but understand I'm not going to personally derail my stream talking about it the whole stream. If we want to touch upon it once or twice during the gameplay, great. But please, let's not have giant discussions half of my stream about it, because there are people who are just trying to chill out. And if you come to a stream, you start hearing about it, you're going to stress out, right? It's the opposite of what you're going to a gameplay stream for.
So let me ask you this then. Like, have you ever thought about
maybe... What about all those times where he said he was in pre-streams and a little bit during the gameplay itself, where he was pissed off that he couldn't get toilet paper. He was pissed off because he couldn't get bottled water. And don't get me wrong, that's a common thing that everybody was going through, so you can kind of understand him venting about that. But then, why was he... So, we were bitching about toilet paper, we were bitching about bottled water, we were bitching about not being able to get our favorite food stuff, we were bitching about how random women in the grocery store were grabbing between 8 and 9 jars of fucking pasta sauce, despite the fact that he makes his own pasta sauce like twice a year. Why were we bitching about we couldn't get to our favorite food place because they closed early? Why they couldn't go to their favorite diner because they were shut down for the pandemic? What the whole situation with why are people having to wear masks? Why are they required to wear masks? That was at the beginning. And all of the nonsense that came with that. Just like with his political talk at times. Yeah, he'll talk about something political if he feels like it, and then he usually cuts the conversation off after that. What a fucking hypocrite. Holy shit.
At one point doing something like that? Because I mean, every once in a while, like it's good, maybe one day or one stream to maybe at least have that, or at least I've seen some people at least engage in that type of stuff. But at least in your case, would you ever think about something like that?
What was that again? Because you actually cut out when you said that.
No, what I said is that did you ever think of it maybe at one point maybe having a stream where you do allow that type of talk like that, or maybe
Gotcha.
maybe not so much like an Ask the King type of video, because I know you put that up on one of your channels and stuff, but like just a stream where you're just like, okay, let's just talk about what's going on right now. It'd be that little cathartic experience.
Right, and you know what? What I do is every major stream that I do in the morning, I have a segment before we get to gameplay where we just talk. I actually do this every day to make sure that if we have hot topics or anyone wants to talk about stuff, we can get out of the way. So that way, when I get to gameplay, I still want to interact with my audience. But if there was any burning questions or anything that people wanted to talk about, we could get that out of the way beforehand. And that's really why I do that, so that we can focus on the games. But yeah, I would say Ask the King, which is my Q&A show, is coming up this week, and incidentally, I get the feeling I'm going to get a lot of questions on that show about worldwide pandemic and all kinds of stuff there, and that's really why I would try to at least hone in on a topic and give an intelligent answer. It's very hard when you're trying to play a game to juggle that with an intelligent answer, especially when there's some people who are hanging out with you every day. Exactly. Imagine right now I'm playing Neo.
Just answer it honestly. And people take it however they're going to take it. People will eventually take it however they want to take it. Whether if it's off the cuff, whether it's abridged, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's intelligent, however which way you want to spin it, or you want to take it. At the end of the day. That's the whole point of opening yourself up to a conversation in the first place. Like, we're spending so much time trying to impress other people instead of putting our active views out there. And then, Phil is quick to defense it. So if someone says something that sounds really, really good to him, he's quick to just take their side and completely ignore what he said prior to that. Phil's good for that. Oh well.
Two.
Hell no. Hell no. I do not wish that on anybody, because I had to write the guide on Neo for IGN, and that's tough. Oh my god.
Yeah, you die with 1 to 2 hits for most of the game. Yeah, I really want to be now trying to give you an honest, intelligent, and mature answer about something serious when I'm getting slaughtered by these demons every 2 seconds. Exactly.
That's crazy.
Following along with your question, the other half of the thing here is that during this whole pandemic, even though I've been incredibly lucky to have this vest streak, as I call it, happen, as silly as it is, I don't want to constantly be talking about income and money, because I realize I'm one of the luckier people on this planet. I get to work. I get to work from home while a lot of people are out of their jobs.
A lot of people sent home right now.
Exactly, and they can't make any money. So how ridiculously selfish would it be for me to now be talking to people about money and you better step up and contribute? That'd be ridiculous.
I've seen that on some streams, and I think it sometimes could be very obnoxious. Again, with different
I'm sure you have seen it on certain streams, but that doesn't mean Phil hasn't done that. That's why the blatant lie. Oh my god, he blatantly lied there. I'm one of the lucky ones who still work. If you want to call what you do work, but in actuality, begging's what basically carries the day. But please believe he talks about finances a lot. If anything, during the this pandemic, during COVID-19, he's ramped up his begging. He's ramped up his need for money. What's the current lore right now? I need you guys to keep the vestry going so I can... I'm sorry. So I can improve my streaming equipment and improve my streaming quality so everything can be better, so I can get rid of my love seat and get an actual gaming chair. The same gaming chair that he shits on for being overpriced, being cheap, being stupid. The people who try to sell them to you are assholes because they know they're shilling off El Cheapo quality stuff to you. His words, not mine. Womp womp. Also wanting to have the basically full streamer setup, which is the thing that he had resisted for years, saying he didn't need those type of things, and playing video games should be a relaxing experience and it shouldn't be hyper focused and you don't need all that extra bullshit. But now he wants all that extra bullshit. Weird stuff. But the point being is that if you want to see Phil change, you need to give him more money. And you need to continue giving him the money that he's making now. But then you have to give him even more money to make sure that he has that money so when the changes come through. So maintain his current lifestyle and income now and then give me even more money so I can go ahead and get all the stuff that you guys have been nagging me over. His words, not mine. You guys have been nagging me for the last couple of years, like a green screen and a better webcam and so on and so forth. Am I wrong in anything that I'm saying right now? You know what I mean? Like, he can't do this. Oh boy. Only if he knew. Only if he knew.
Streamers out there that are doing that so blatantly out in the open. You know, you've seen that a lot in like different news sources and stuff. I think that now a little bit of like, you know, reading the room could go a little bit further with some people like that. Because,
that's right.
Again, everybody right now is just dealing with some shit, and it could be a little bit frustrating for some people.
For me, my philosophy when I stream these days is, you know, I've been around the block. I've seen every aspect of raising funds while you're creating content. And for me, the most successful formula...
Right? I mean, I'm sorry. Successful sponsorship. Womp womp.
Is do your thing, make something that's positive and fun, and as long as other people feel that what you're making is positive and fun, you're going to get that support. It's going to naturally come. Harping on that is not going to help. In fact, a lot of times...
You don't say! Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're being re-educated by Professor Pig himself. The greed is massively strong. Let's go ahead and hear more about this. Really? I did not know that was a thing.
Oh man, things are slow today. That's going to have the opposite effect. That's going to turn off your viewing audience. And especially during now...
Back in the day, I know you guys remember, Pepperidge Farm remembers, back in the day when we had those we had those days where we only made like $30 or $40 on both streams. Oh guys, or anybody remember those tweets like, oh guys, just came off a great stream earlier today, but contributions were slow today, man. Hopefully you guys come out tonight and you guys will be supportive. I'll very much appreciate it. I'm gonna give you guys 2 full hours of whatever bullshit game he was playing at the time. Man, I hope you guys will be supportive because the early stream was slow. Oh, or does anybody forget? Does anybody remember? I should say. I'm sorry. Those evening streams where the pre-stream got cut off because you don't upload those. And what was those pre-streams usually all about? Man, I don't understand why contributions were so slow. Like, everybody said they loved the game yesterday, and everybody was super supportive. But, you know, today, I only got like $30. I don't know what's going on, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy the stream tonight. You guys will be extra supportive because, as you know, tomorrow's my day off with my wife, Kat, and you know, we got to go out and get groceries, and we got errands to run, and I use that money right away to pay for the things that we need. So I'm just hoping you guys are going to be supportive tonight, man. I really don't know what's going on with the day stream. I don't have a clue, but you know, let's have a positive stream and whatnot. I know you guys understand what my dilemma is. Hopefully you guys will essentially, you know, you guys will come through and you'll be supportive, and you'll realize that, you know, you appreciate what I do every day for you guys. Because you got to remember, this is all free content that you're absorbing. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that you guys will really appreciate that, and, you know, we can have a nice positive stream. That is damn near verbatim. Damn near. Plus or minus some snorts and some unnecessary belches. That is pretty much verbatim. You know what I'm saying? That is a Philism, to say the very least. But right here in this interview, though, to however many people who saw this, oh no, I don't do all that. I'm beyond all that. You know what I'm saying? As a content creator, I've evolved. You know what I'm saying? Past the pettiness of demanding money for my viewership. Holy shit. Oh, it must be amazing to be a sociopath and believe everything that you say. Jesus Christ.
During a worldwide pandemic, when a lot of people do not have money, doing that is just so off base from what you should be doing as a content creator.
Definitely. I think that, again, that's very, very true for a lot of, and I think that a lot of creators tend to forget that sometimes, especially getting caught up in the whole crazy flair of everything and stuff. But Phil, thank you so much for chatting up with me on this episode of Definitive Discussion. You know, it was always a trip because, again, we don't talk as much. Again, we haven't talked in like mad long and stuff. So this is a cool treat for me and whatnot. But you're on the socials, right? Where can everybody find you?
At They Call Me DSP on Twitter. My Twitch account is twitch.tv/Darksydephil. and on YouTube, youtube.com/DSPGaming.
So definitely go check that stuff out, guys. There'll be links in the description box below. Go send them some owl hugs if you're listening to this episode, because we like sending owl hugs to people just randomly, just because, except for Squirtle Squad emotes and gifts and stuff. Right before, because I know me and you are going to talk a little bit more on EX mode, but right now, what is some other stuff that you're working on right now? Like, what games are you streaming at the current moment that are coming up soon?
Wait. Ladies and gentlemen, did you guys miss something? I missed something. Did you guys miss something? What happened to... where's the shout out for the Patreon? What's up with the shout outs to the Teespring? What's up with the shout outs to the Streamlabs? Nothing? Wow, that's hurtful. But at least he actually put everything down in the description, unlike the quartering. We all saw how that goes. I actually just recently looked, and nothing down there for DSP at all. All he had was hashtag DSP. Didn't put any of his information down in the description at all. Oh, that's so hurtful. Quarter pounder, no.
Juggling currently Final Fantasy VII Remake, Neo 2, and I just started Banjo-Tooie. I'm doing a lot of what I consider more chill late-night streams, such as Animal Crossing, Minecraft, and Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. So a big variety of stuff. Yes. And coming up, my viewers, again, during another Viewers' Choice event poll, actually said I should play a game that I missed out on last year because I didn't really know much about the franchise, even though it's one of the biggest franchises that I believe Nintendo has right now, Fire Emblem.
Oh, you never played a Fire Emblem game? Oh, you're going to have so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's not having much fun at all. If anybody's keeping up with LSB... if anybody's keeping up with LSB and Rocky, you know damn well Phil is not having no fun with that at all. Watching Fire Emblem, watching Phil play it and watching LSB play it are like, it's just two separate worlds, right? Like, you have in LSB a legitimate individual who enjoys what he's playing, right? And then you have Phil, who's just kind of loafing through it. Like, you can tell it's like your washing machine just spinning. He's just going through the motions. Like, Phil don't give a rat's ass about this shit. If it wasn't for the fact that he was paid to play it, he probably wouldn't have played it. So, which is the only reason why he played it in the first place, because he got paid to. You see the niche there? You see how it's interesting how we skip games and then we convince the idiots to pay us later to play it? You know, as a sub goal or as a Patreon, well, maybe not Patreon so much anymore, but usually as a sub goal or he used to do that shit for tip goals at one time or another. Stuff like that. Either which way. You got to pay him to play those games. Yikes.
That's going to be exciting. Fire Emblem Three Houses. Yeah, Fire Emblem Three Houses is the next kind of game on my agenda. And then after that, there's so much else that's been going on. I believe that there's actually a Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC that covers Dragon Ball Super. That's going to be coming out this coming week. And there's a few odds and ends I've missed out on that I may be playing. But really, as a content creator, as I already said, it's kind of up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen in May. What games will really come out and what won't. So really, it's kind of more play it by ear and see what happens.
I tell you right now, you're gonna have a lot of fun with Fire Emblem. You're gonna be at that for a while. Let me put it that way. Like, so that's gonna be crazy. But again, Phil, thank you so much for chatting with me on this episode, guys. Remember, check out all the different episodes I have up on the channel right now. And don't forget to join up with my Patreon page. $1 level or higher, you're going to get not only this bonus EX mode that I'm going to do with Phil very soon, but you're going to get all the other EX modes that I've done with all my guests up to this point, as well as a bunch of other great exclusive content that I have on the channel. So definitely check all that stuff out. Leave me a comment down below in the comment section. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you love this episode. But with that being said, we will talk to all of you again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.
Well, well, that was something. Alrighty. It is what it is with that, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for us to go ahead and clean up and whatnot, and I'll give you my final thoughts, and then I will bid you good day, at least for the time being, and depending on when the second one of these comes out, so on and so forth. So I will see you guys in just a second. Let's see here. What are we gonna play? We're gonna play. Oh shit! I forgot that I was doing that. Yeah, we can do this one. I need to remember to make that full playlist. Yeah. That's funny. The SnortBucks one for Final Fantasy, I do not have it here. So I must have switched the settings up. That's okay. I'll just ask them to put that back in for me. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on a second. Yeah, there we go. Sexy. Yeah. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. So, what are our takes from this interview? It is what it is. Pretty much point and shoot, to be honest with you. A lot of contradictions on Phil's part, but it wouldn't be a Darksydephil video if it didn't have that shit. It's amazing how, one, things like this work. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I've been fortunate to have people who recommend videos, and I'm kind of glad that I get a chance to do it. It's usually later on down the line. It's never when they initially ask. I always feel bad for that, but then it's always late, never breaking, so theoretically it's in the motto. But going back and looking at the nonsense that came out of this, right? To look at the nonsense that came out of this shit, and then to hear what popped off later is fucking crazy. Sometimes, not with this particular video, but with certain videos that don't make it out for whatever reason, or get botched, or corrupt files or whatever, and then when I finally get to them, it's usually always worthwhile. Almost always. I don't know why it always works out that way, but it does, and I love the fact that it does. And this is one of those cases. Well, this is a case of doing it. I guess when we did it is a thing. Jesus Christ, Phil, what's wrong with you? But in any case, a lot of nonsense, a lot of contradicting. It's a shame that he can't see past his own hoof, because if he could, I bet you anything he would have approached this interview differently, or at least what he said. It is what it is. Anyway, I'll leave the link to JJL's video down in the description. You can check that out at your leisure and whatnot. And I will see you for part 2 of this, which is the second part of their interview, if you will. I guess it's like the extra bits. I don't know if this came off of his Patreon or not, but whatever. We'll go over it. We'll see what's what, and it should be interesting either which way. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys for the next one of these, which should be out soon, hopefully, maybe. I don't know. Don't rely on me for stuff like that. You know me. You probably shouldn't do that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Snort Report, and this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. Oh, yes! A GTG Networking Productions for the Snort Report, as well as SnortBucks Coffee. I've been your host, /anchor, GTG, and I'm signing off. Big ups to the outsider. Take care of yourselves, guys. End of broadcast.